Welcome again to the Andrew Tucker TV channel, where you get biting, incisive political commentary. And this morning or this afternoon, when the video shall reach you, we are going to be looking at a very delicate topic, in which many people, we have lots of Caribbean citizens in the United States, and we can see a lot of developments happening there, which indicate that people's rights are being violated. And we can see that our freedom of speech is being curtailed day after day. Now, I don't have to tell you about the assassination, the murder of Charlie Kirk in the United States, and that has whipped up a lot of debates and talking about guns and everything that is happening there. But we have to be very careful in light of what is happening in the US as far as Jamaican and Caribbean citizens are concerned. Are Caribbean social media users being watched by the US? After the Charlie Kirk murder, the US government warned that foreigners, including those from the Caribbean, could have their visas revoked if they are caught praising the killing online. Now, when you say caught praising the killing, it means therefore that you might be saying something that opposes the narrative, the dominant narrative in the United States as Caribbean citizens who might be residing in the United States. And for that reason, or even if you're residing outside of the United States, your visas can be revoked based on your opinions or based on your even liking somebody's pronouncements or agreeing with their ideologies. So you've got to be careful what you say and whose video you like, the comments that you make on people's videos, because remember now that Trump is expanding the surveillance state. The United States has been a surveillance state for a long time. And I think that it has been expanded, it has accelerated its expansion after September 11, 2001. Okay, so what we have to understand is that the United States is no longer the democratic state that we think it used to be. It's now telling us that the emperor has lost its clothes. So there are things that you might be called in for if you go to the embassy, or if you're walking on the streets of the United States and then you understand that ICE, or if you visit the embassy in outside of the country and they tell you that your visa has been revoked, and you're wondering, what did I do? Remember now that they see what you do on social media. And we understand that since the Trump presidency, Trump 2.0, that he has also tasked the people who work in immigration at customs in the United States, whenever citizens and of the Caribbean or foreigners are entering the shores of the United States, that they have a right to review the content on your phone, and they can look at your social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, your TikToks, your YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. So obviously, maybe I'm a persona non grata. Okay, because of what I am saying, not because I do not endorse any murder. I do not, in fact, I lament what has happened. And anybody who dies, I am in sympathy. Could be my enemy, right? It could be my enemy. I do not wish that any of my enemies die. Okay, so that is my take on the matter. So I'm not here endorsing what, a murderer would have done. Will never do that. That is not my take on the matter, and that is not my disposition. Okay, so I want to make that loud and clear. What I'm suggesting here is that we live in a world, and we think, or we thought we lived in a world that was a democratic one. But the more we see as the events unfold every day, we're seeing that there are curtailments of our respective or democratic rights and norms are being whittled away. And I hope that we're paying attention. I hope that we understand that this is not going to be ending well if it continues on this trajectory. So I just wanted to highlight that. But let's delve into the weed of the matter. Now, what does this mean for Caribbean nationals living in the United States? Is this a threat to free speech and democracy in the region, or is it a necessary step in the fight against online extremism. In this video, we break down why the US is monitoring Caribbean social media activity, the risks for Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Haitians, and other Caribbean nationals, the balance between security and freedom of expression. And that is a very important aspect of our lives. There ought to be a balance between security and freedom of expression. Now, what does the government mean when it says that it is protecting us, that it is protecting our security? We have to be careful of that when they tell us, because they can make laws that, yeah, if we don't agree with them, then, we don't have the right to express our disagreement because it's going to affect our national security and our safety. So, we have to be careful of what they're telling us and make sure that we stand up for what is right. Okay. Now, in the Jamaica Observer yesterday, and coming directly from the United States, it says US threatens to revoke visas of foreigners praising Charlie Kirk murder on social media. Now, the US State Department's number 2 on Thursday, so that's the US Department's number 2, on Thursday threatened to strip visas over online support for the killing of right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk, encouraging internet users to flag foreigners' posts. In light of yesterday's horrific assassination of a leading political figure, I want to underscore that foreigners who glorify violence and hatred are not welcomed visitors to our country, Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau wrote on X. I have been disgusted to see some on social media praising, rationalizing, or making light of the event, and have directed our consular officials to undertake appropriate action, he wrote, without naming specific posts. So our posts are being watched. Landau quickly received replies that pointed to specific online comments which encouraged him to revoke visas purported to belong to foreign residents in the United States. Landau responded in turn, asking ex-users to keep sharing by replying to him online. He promised to ask the State Department to look into the posts. So they have the right to look at your posts. We have no longer privacy. Privacy is now a foregone matter, a long foregone matter. Kirk, a 31-year-old ally of Donald Trump, who has helped galvanize conservative support among young people, was shot dead during a speaking engagement Wednesday at a university in Utah. Okay, a very unfortunate incident. The Trump administration has moved aggressively to revoke or deny visas as part of a broader crackdown on immigration. So every incident that occurs in the United States, they're using it to curtail the rights and freedom of both US citizens and also US foreigners or aliens or foreigners on the shores of the United States, and even those outside of the United States who might be applying for visas. Very important that you understand there's no development from the tariffs, right? Trade wars, to the incident now of this politician being murdered, being unalived. As of mid-August, the State Department said it has rescinded 6,000 student visas, mostly over legal violations, including overstays or police encounters, including drunk driving. So you can be deported for drunk driving. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said he is prioritizing the revocation of visas of lunatics who led campus protests against Israel offensive in Gaza, using a law that allows him to remove people for going against US foreign policy interests. All right, so if you have a political ideology, you might not be able to express that ideology. If you see some level of injustice happening in the United States, as far as United States foreign policy is concerned, if it is not an agreement with US foreign policy and you're expressing your displeasure, your disagreement, it means therefore that your visas can be revoked. Even if your concern is legitimate, even if you are expressing facts, it doesn't matter. So you have to look at what is happening, the developments of the political landscape in the United States and assess whether or not you want to live there, study there, whether or not you want to travel there. You've got now to begin to make these decisions. Okay? These decisions have got to be made by you. And you cannot fool yourselves now into believing that you're traveling to the greatest democracy that the world has ever known. Because that is no longer true. If it were ever true, if it had ever been true. But that is what we were told. But now we are seeing a different reality. Very important that we understand that. This is no time to play. And every incident, whether the warships in the Caribbean, the war on Gaza, okay, and everything we're seeing, laws are being crafted that are not friendly to our interests. I would extend that they're not friendly to human interests or to the interests of freedom-loving people. I'm not here to defend wrongdoing. I am here to defend liberty of conscience and liberty of expression, which I'm saying to you right now, are becoming a reality of the past. Okay? We don't have the freedom of expression, the freedom of conscience. Well, I will have freedom of conscience. Nobody can take that away from me. You might want to kill me, you might want to put me in prison, you might want to, but you're not going to take that freedom away from me because that is a God-given right, the freedom of conscience. Okay? But in some cases, what we are allowed to say and not to say seems to be decided, will be decided by the state. The state is now exercising its right to tell us what to think. And we can be punished for our thoughts. Have you ever heard the word thought crime in the book 1984 by George Orwell? These are the days in which we find ourselves. We are in that era, in that mythical world of which Orwell spoke about. That is the world. That is the current world in which we find ourselves. Wake up. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. All the best to you. See you in another one. Bye.